Yu-Gi-Oh has a lot of archetypes. Some are beloved, some not so much, and others are get supported by Daddy Konami, no matter how much unnecessary support that they already have. But rather than talk about any of those archetypes like a sensible person might, well, we'll instead be looking at a bunch of cards that have both fascinated and confused me for the longest of time and had this special little place in my heart. We're looking today at the tragically mishandled Forbidden Beasts. Forbidden Beasts are a Yu-Gi-Oh manga archetype originally piloted by one Adrian Gecko. You know, the guy, he played Cloudians the one time and then he threw the deck away for Exodia, but everyone still refers to him as the Cloudian guy. Yeah, originally he was using these little demonic things, and they focus on a gameplay strategy so very confounding, so very confusing, that it's honestly a question of what the creator was thinking making them. But in order to truly comprehend and to appreciate what the Forbidden Beasts do and what they can't do, we're going to have to dissect them from the anus up in order to determine what was done right and what went wrong. Starting off, of course, with their smallest monster, the Forbidden Beast Inun, a level 1 dark beast with 200 attack, 300 defense, and when this guy gets sent from the field to the grave, you can add a copy of Forbidden Mantra from your deck to your hand. We'll talk about more about the Forbidden Mantra does in a minute, but let's talk a minute about how good of a searcher Inun actually is. This is a searcher that goes off whether it's destroy a battle by card effect, sent to the grave by card effect, tributed, uses ritual or fusion material, and eventually by synchro and link material. And it fetches a card that, I'll let you know, very important for your plays. You do need a Forbidden Mantra to facilitate all of your moves, and Inun is really good for searching it out. It works however you get it from the field to the grave, it'll work for you. And in a modern setting, Inun is absolutely beastly when combined with things such as Link Karibo or Salamangreat Almiraj. An absolutely fantastical searcher, really gives you some high hopes for what this archetype can really do. And in a dedicated Forbidden Beast deck, you'll want to run at least 3 of this dude, because the Forbidden Mantra is just that important. So what is this Forbidden Mantra, you may ask? Well, you see, it's this continuous spell card that simply states that all Forbidden Beast monsters gain their effects. Now, I want you to read that effect again, and I want you to think about it really, really hard. Very good. Yeah, we're going 100 to 0 really quick with this archetype. We start with a very nice searcher, searching a very confounding card. The Forbidden Mantra doesn't really do anything. The whole idea of this card is that it gives the rest of the archetype their effects at all. Meaning that without Forbidden Mantra, your deck doesn't do anything. Now, archetypes that require specific spells on the board are not completely foreign to this game. Toons have Toon Kingdom. The adventure lineup has the Rites of Asir. We have things like BS having BF Zelos, and Dark Magicians have Red Eyes Fusion. However, the difference between all of those cards and Forbidden Mantra is that those cards actually do something to support the archetypes they're attached to, rather than allowing the archetype itself to actually get started. In fact, the only card I can think of that actually is similar to Forbidden Mantra in this case would be the original Toon World. And at least in that case, you got a card that does something. I mean, it costs you 1,000 life points. It technically does something. Forbidden Mantra just feels so much more offensively bad, because it just sits there. It has no benefit to your monsters. It doesn't make them bigger and stronger. It doesn't give them any swarming, no protection. Heck, if it had all 3 of those things, I wouldn't feel so bad about it. It would be pretty dang good. I would be happy to see the Forbidden Mantra on my board 9 times out of 10. But let me tell you, it doesn't do any of those things. So Forbidden Mantra is a card that you're forced to play, not because you want to play it, but because you literally can't do much of anything in this deck without it. Getting back on track, there's some nice things to say about this deck. We got ourselves the Forbidden Beast NUNURAO, who is a level 2 Dark Beast with 500 attack and 800 defense, which, while the effect of Forbidden Mantra is applied, can be special summoned from the hand. I'll let you guys know up front, this guy is not meant as Exceeds material, although he's pretty damn good for it. NUNURAO is actually meant to be tribute fodder of the Forbidden Beast, as you have some pretty beefy tribute monsters we'll get into later. However, NUNURAO isn't that great for doing this. The rest of the archetype, barring one other monster, have no means of special summoning, meaning unless you have two of this thing in the hand and then one of your tribute monsters, NUNURAO just kind of sits there. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's the most beautiful looking snake, armor snake you've ever seen in your life. What he is, however, built for is using him and another copy of himself as exceed material for your Ronin Raccoon Sandayu, which is coincidentally a better boss monster than the boss monster that Forbidden Beasts have. Anyway, you run at least 2 to 3 copies of this card to a dedicated deck to enable easy raccoon styling. Next up, we've got Forbidden Beast Watsumu, and at this point in this video, I don't even understand what the real theme for the artwork on these cards are. They all look very wildly different. But anyway, this is level 3 Dark Beast with 800 attack and 700 defense, and when it is destroyed by battle, while the effect of Forbidden Mantra is applied, you can target 2 level 3 or lower Forbidden Beast monsters in the grave and return them to your hand. Yeah, we get ourselves into another kind of stinky card, I'm not gonna lie. Watsumu is battle recovery that not only is completely unnecessary in this deck, but just feels so awfully designed. Having the ability to recover a couple copies of NUNURAO sounds okay, but this card requires itself to be destroyed by battle, meaning you're either requiring your opponent to destroy your Watsumu and expecting yourself to survive the encounter, or God help you, you attack your Watsumu into your opponent's monster. I'll do that with Ojama Blue, but I ain't doing it with this demented frog, scorpion, bug thing.
Hey, that's my physical appearance. That hurts really bad.
What's even worse is, in the context of this monster's effect recovering your Forbidden Beast, there are very few actual targets for this effect. If you're recovering your Inuns, it means that you're needing a Forbidden Mantra, which you can't activate the effect of Watsumu without Forbidden Mantra, meaning you're never going to get Inuns unless you're in a very odd situation. You do maybe want to get back your NUNURAOs, because you'll all be using them very often. You could get back Watsumu if you felt like it, but that just seems kind of redundant. And there's only one other level 3 that we've yet to talk about that this guy can recover. On top of that, he does not recover up to 2 monsters. It has to be 2 monsters. So Watsumu is a very situational, very clunky piece of recovery that the deck really didn't need. The deck needed some more battle manipulation, maybe some more swarming. Not this. This is not that. But anyway, the one thing to note is that you do run Watsumu, at least as a one-of, not because of what it is, but because of who he is, as I'll mention later. The last level 3 of the Forbidden Beast is our Forbidden Beast Zarm Jewel, which is a level 3 Dark Beast with 1200 attack and 1400 defense, which once per turn can destroy a spell trap your opponent controls, so long as you have Forbidden Mantra. Now you have to understand that this card was conceived of during a time when cards of the spell trap removal variety were very much in limit. Every archetype had to have its own spell trap removal. This is what Forbidden Beast got. Now, admittedly, it's not terrible. A normal summonable once per turn MST. All you need to have is Forbidden Mantra on the board. Oh goodness, it's not offensive. And at least this guy has decent enough stats for level 3, especially considering Watsumu's abysmal stats. But, Zarm Jewel is okay. It's not amazing. I do look at his head, and I think I need to give that to an Australian man so we can go catch dinner with it. But other than that, this is another card you run because there's not much else in the deck. It is your spell trap removal, and it does have other uses, so I'd say no more than 2. Forbidden Beast Bobalan, who is sadly not Forbidden Beast Bo Hancock, is a level 4 Dark Beast with 1700 attack and 1000 defense, which destroys any monster that he battles at the end of damage step, so long as you control the Forbidden Mantra. There you go. This is the archetypal level 4 beat stick, and it's actually pretty solid. Being able to destroy any monster that he battles into, or is battled into, gives a Bobalan the versatility that the deck really was struggling with. We have the ability to beat into our opponents with Bobalan and destroy their monsters, You can make Bobolan indestructible himself and have your opponent just ram into it. It's got that little bit of something. It allows you to do some beatdown. Bobolan, he might not have arms, but I imagine he can still punch you pretty hard. I do wish his stats were just a little bit beefier, but with an effect like he has, it's really not that big of a deal. So, Bobolan, somewhat misplaced. He could have been something great and amazing in a different archetype. You won 3 of this guy because, again, he's a level 4, great level. He's a great beat stick, and again, he's a forbidden beast. And you'll understand the true importance of that shortly. Now, before we go into the major boss monsters of this archetype, I just want to briefly bring up the despair URANUS. This guy was actually, funnily enough, used by Adrian in the manga. This was the monster he was trying to summon out with Forbidden Beast. God help that poor boy. It's not the worst card to put in the deck. It does allow you to get out your Forbidden Mantra if you're somehow missing it and you somehow make 2 tributes on your board without Mantra on the board. But it does have the ability to protect your spell traps. It does get bigger with your spell traps. It's not the worst card in the world, and you could make an argument that this is a better boss than what the archetype has. But you haven't yet seen what the Forbidden Beast bosses do, so it's really up to you. I will say, though, being a light monster does give you access to some Chaos cards, so, you know, it gives the deck a little bit of versatility in a pinch, perhaps, so run by preference. Now, up to this point, you might be curious as to what exactly the game plan of the Forbidden Beast is. What is their goal? What is it they're trying to do? Well, you might be thinking it's just a beatdown deck, but let me tell you, it's about to get a whole lot beefier of a beatdown deck as we take a look at their first boss monster, Forbidden Beast NUNURAO, who really looks like a spiky, smaller version of Stardust Dragon. It's kind of weird. Anyway, this is a level 8 Dark Beast with 2700 attack and 2000 defense, which when summoned, special summons a Forbidden Beast monster from the graveyard. And hallelujah, everybody! We get our first Forbidden Beast monster since Inun that does not require Forbidden Mantra in order to make a play off of. Oh, lordy, I've been waiting for this. NUNURAO is absolutely busted of a card. You summon him by whatever means, normal summon, special summon, flip summons, and then you get another one back from your graveyard, and he can chain off himself. So summon NUNURAO, revive a NUNURAO, revive another NUNURAO, revive the Bobolan or whatever else you want to summon out with this guy. You go from 1 monster to 4 monsters, and it's absolutely beautiful. Now, admittedly, in the TCG, this would be nerfed to hell, but love it the way it was originally intended. Now, level 8, a little tricky in this deck, as we've explained with NUNURAO, not the best in terms of tribute fodder. And it honestly makes me curious to what the deck would have been like if NUNURAO had been level 6. If you think about it, if he'd been level 6, NUNURAO would have been just a 1 tribute for NUNURAO and a whole bunch of other monsters. Additionally, cards such as the Monarch Stormforth, Change of Heart, Crackdown, etc. become a whole lot more viable for turning the Forbidden Beast from a, boring beatdown deck into a control-esque beatdown deck, stealing your opponent's stuff and tributing them off in order to make, big beatdown plays. That would have been a bit more interesting. It would have been nice, but that's just me. One playstyle gives you access to all the big rank 8s. The other to the rank 6s, of course. All those nice rank 6s. That's what that would have done. But yeah, that's all up to the air. It's a level 8. I would have liked it at a level 6. But who knows? Maybe if these are ever printed, something weird will happen. Now for the last penultimate boss monster of the Forbidden Beast, their ultimate beast of a monster. We have the Forbidden Beast, Braun, which is a level 8 Dark Beast with 2700 attack and 2100 defense, which, while the effect of Forbidden Mantra is applied, this card is unaffected by other card effects. And have I seen this guy in a movie somewhere? I feel like I have. Anyway, Forbidden Beast Braun is ideally supposed to be the ultimate boss of this archetype. However, as you're sure my eagle-eyed people will notice, there's a few issues with Braun. While it's certainly true that there are many famous iconic boss monsters with a similar defensive pattern to them that have made their mark on this game, None of them are reliant on a shitty little continuous spell being on the board in order to maintain their protection. Maybe if Mantra gave Braun some boosts or something, it would be worth it. However, even then, it wouldn't matter. Not only is Braun reliant on the spell in order to maintain his defense, his own defense prevents him from being affected by anything. Key term, your own anything. It doesn't matter what you're playing, your Forbidden Beast Braun is immune to all card effects. He's immune to your own stat boost on him, meaning he's stuck as a 2700 beater no matter what you do. And 2700 may not be the worst stat line for a 8-star beater. It's certainly outdone by Rabid Dragon of all things, so Forbidden Beast Braun comes off as a rather disappointing boss. And honestly, I would shelve him for Nabunu and even the Despair Uranus, because at least those do something for the deck that they're meant to be in. Whereas Braun is just kind of there. So, honestly, unless you really like the design on this dude, don't run it. Now that we're done with the monster lineup, let's look at the spell lineup. The one spell. There's one other spell in this entire lineup of cards, and it's both the best spell in the deck, but also the card that spells the doom for the entire archetype. That card being the Body's Hidden Mantra. While Forbidden Mantra is on the field, you draw one card for every Forbidden Beast in your graveyard. Holy hell, that's a lot of drop power. Considering that if you're playing this deck, that most of your monsters will be stuck in the grave, whether you wanted them there or not, you're going to be drawing out the wazoo when you activate this card. You know, consider you have 3 Inuns, you have 3 Bobolands, let's say 3 NUNURAOs, maybe, let's see, what else we got? We got 3 copies of the Bunu. You do the math, you get the number, you get that many draws. So you getting your butt kicked with your Forbidden Beast, don't worry. You can activate the Body's Hidden Mantra and you get to draw all sorts of more Forbidden Beasts, so you can get your butt kicked even harder. This is an amazing draw power card. It does require the stinky Forbidden Mantra on the board, of course. But the one thing that kills the deck because of this is that so long as this card exists, you will never want Forbidden Beasts on the board. So long as this card exists, why would you want Forbidden Beasts on the board when you have them in the graveyard? Just put these guys with some Danger Dark Worlds, flood your graveyard with all these Forbidden Beasts, and just plus for days. You turn Forbidden Beasts from a potentially interesting beatdown sort of deck into another draw engine. It doesn't even have a once per turn on it. Admittedly, TCG would nerf this thing to hell, but as it stands, as it's meant to be played, that's what Forbidden Beasts are reduced to because of this card. Their best draw, their best recovery, their best everything turns them into a draw engine. It's sad but true. But you run 2 of this thing because it's amazing. Lastly, we'll take a look at the traps and we'll go right through these quick because there's not much to talk about. First up, the Beast Concealed Mantra, which states that when a Forbidden Beast is destroyed, you can add Forbidden Mantra from your deck to your hand. Sounds simple enough. You, for whatever reason, have decided to play Forbidden Beast. You go to your locals. You get in your first duel. You win your coin toss or dice roll, and you get to go first. You open your hand up. You don't have Mantra. You set your Inun. You set this thing. You pass. Your opponent decides to go 10 minutes and make about, let's say, go easy 4 Omni Negates on the first turn. Wipe out your monster. And guess what? Next turn you get to start with 2 Forbidden Mantras to then not be able to do anything. Yeah, that's, I get the idea of this card, but you know what the funny thing is? The archetype has a straight upgrade in their next card, the Mantra of Agony, which states that when a Forbidden Beast is targeted for an attack, you destroy the attacking monster and then add Forbidden Mantra from deck to hand. More telegraphed? Certainly. Is it better in every way? Absolutely. You get to keep your monster and destroy your opponent's monster and search your important playmaker. It'd be even better if it set the card to the board, but it doesn't. Not set the card, activate it. Activate it straight from the deck. That's even better. Do that. But it's still better than the Beast Concealed Mantra in all ways, so if you're gonna run traps like this in a Forbidden Beast deck, you run Mantra of Agony. You don't even look at Beast Concealed at all. And last but certainly not least, we get the card, the Barrier of the Ancient Codex, which is a continuous trap which states the forbidden mantra cannot be destroyed by card effects. Obviously, in a deck like this is a card that was going to be made. I mean, you're literally dead to MST in this deck. If you don't have your forbidden mantra, most of your cards don't do anything except for God blessed Nibunu. It's a continuous trap. It doesn't do much other than protecting mantra. Just screw the rest of the monsters. They're a draw engine. No, we have to protect the mantra and nothing else. It's a card you would expect to see in the deck. I would, again, honestly run Despair Uranus. Other than this thing, this card doesn't do much. Uranus, at least it does something for the deck. It's not the best, but it's still better than this. So, Forbidden Beast, go out on a whimper. We went from highs to lows, hundreds to zeros, zero to hundreds, and we end up with a trap that's better off just put on the shelf. Forbidden Beasts have always been such an enigmatic bunch of cards to me. Their style is all over the place, their gameplay strategy is kind of lackluster, their reliance on the Forbidden Mantra to make any of their plays is absolutely a punch in the gut, but there's something so weirdly endearing about them to me. I love old school, classical beatdown sort of archetypes. I love janky stuff that's never meant to be made into a real thing. I love an old school deck that just wants to prove itself possible. And that's why I love Forbidden Beasts. They might not seem like the most impressive bunch, and Lord knows, so long as there's more anime boys that can be made into cards, Konami's never going to touch these guys, but if they were ever made into a real deck, I'd be one of the first on of a ticket to be making a Forbidden Beast deck. And not no draw engine either. I want to see Nibunu flood the board. I want to see Bobo-Land tank a hit. I want to see Uranus lording over the world. That's just what I want to see Forbidden Beast like a thing. It's a beautiful bunch of cards that just horribly done. And all it would really take to make them better, other than maybe updating a couple of their effects, is just making Forbidden Mantra less of an anchor, less of a dead weight, and more of an actual play enabler in the actual sense. This is less of a play enabler and more of a you don't get to play the game unless I get to be at the table sort of thing. And that's what really makes Forbidden Mantra such an offensive card to me. What really brings down the rest of this deck. If Mantra had any other kind of effect, I don't even care if the rest of the archetype needs the Mantra to do things. That's not the problem. The problem is that Mantra itself doesn't do anything. If it just did, the deck would be better by association, and I look forward to the day that Konami gets off their butts and takes a look at some manga archetypes and starts making them into real decks, and we get to see what the Forbidden Beast can do. Thank you everybody for watching this here video. If you did enjoy watching some of this, don't forget to hit the like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't. Let me know in the comments what you think of Forbidden Beasts, if you think that they'll ever be made, or if you think there's anything that can be done to make them anywhere close to viable. And I'll be seeing you guys again in a month or two when we'll be taking a look at another crazy deck, probably in the TCG next time. Later.